Another quick hitting snowstorm is on the way, and chances are, if you saw snow Friday, you're going to see it again tomorrow. So, here to give you the latest information on that, talk about what's changed, as this has uptrended over the last 24 to 36 hours or so. So, we'll compare model guidance and do all that. After that, we'll get deeper into this week, into next weekend. The potential is there for an Arctic outbreak. Is this just mainly going to be cold and dry? Are we going to have a winter storm chance for areas? Is just going to be something in between, some minor, moderate events? We'll go all of it and get as detailed as possible. My name is Mitch. Good Sunday morning. Hope you guys are doing well and have had a wonderful weekend so far. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's go over some latest short-range model guidance. We'll go over the HRRR model first. Timestamp is up here. This isn't Eastern time, so if you're in Central time, like back over here west of the apps, well, back this up 1 hour, so it'll be 1 a.m. But we're going to start off around 2 a.m. Eastern time. We got some snow flying around here in southern Indiana, southern Ohio, even southern Illinois, and some rain beginning to switch to some snow in areas of Kentucky. Now, you see this big area of moisture moving in across the deep south, eastern Tennessee. This is going to run into some cold air as I get this in motion here, and let's make sure we can. And as we do, we take it to about daybreak tomorrow. So around this time tomorrow morning, it's around 7 a.m. at the time making this video. So 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, we got an all-out quick-hitting snow event moving in. It's snowing now in the northern areas of Kentucky, all the way up to Cincinnati, and very small areas of southern Ohio. If this model is correct, it is pouring snow in the mountains of North Carolina and even areas of Tennessee. Well, the mountains of Tennessee. I mean, it's snowing in the Tri-Cities area of Tennessee. But, some question marks around that area. But Southwest Virginia, it is snowing. You guys are getting yours again. Roanoke, snow's moving into Charlottesville. Lynchburg, Danville, some snow is moving in. Greensboro, some of these areas in North Carolina will certainly start as rain, but there's going to be an opportunity for some dynamic cooling, and this rain could change to snow. So let's go on and keep this going. Could snow get all the way up to the DC-Baltimore corridor? I think it can. These systems like to, trend and just be further north than what's being modeled. So we'll keep that in mind, right? And that's kind of what ripped us off in North Carolina with this last event Friday. It trended north, and this could certainly do that also. So we take it all the way to about late morning, midday tomorrow. It's snowing in Charleston now. This is an area that didn't get as much with this last event. You could get a little bit more with this. We just got to watch. Could stay to the south. But rain has switched to not only snow, but heavy wet snow in like Greensboro. It's snowing in Hickory. Can it switch to snow in Charlotte? It's even trying to have a rain, snow, sleet mix in Fayetteville. We keep this going. It's snowing in Richmond. And then we take it to about 1 to 2 p.m. This is when a low pressure tries to develop off the East Coast here, and the precipitation can get heavier. And if it's falling in the form of snow and not rain, it's going to be heavy snow. So there's two things ongoing. Some back edge energy that I want to watch, kind of an elevated vortex or just stronger energy. This is going to reflect the surface, as I think, as some pretty heavy snow bands that could wrap down from the central to the southern Appalachian Mountains. So I want to watch for a banding feature of heavy snow in this region right here, sort of West Virginia, maybe as far west as eastern Kentucky, western Virginia, down to the North Carolina and Tennessee mountains. I want to watch this. This is an interesting feature, but this is sort of the low pressure developing, and any kind of heavy rain could switch to a period of heavy wet snow in like the Hamptons Road area. Even down here in eastern North Carolina, Greenville, Goldsboro, Raleigh, it's snowing. And then we take it all the way to about 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. Still flurries and light snow, maybe some moderate snow bands flying around here in Beckley, Roanoke. Maybe still some light snow down here in Greensboro. I would watch even for this green area, which is rain, in Greenville. This could mix with a little bit of snow. I think there's the possibility for that. But this is sort of the cold back edge of this precipitation shield that's way out in the Atlantic Ocean. And this is where the surprise could happen. And this is not necessarily exactly what's going to happen, but this is just one run of a short-range model. And it actually ends as a little bit of snow. I mean, it's maybe as far southeast as Jacksonville, North Carolina. So that's the HRRR model run. What about the NAM? Continues to be very aggressive, by the way. Same thing. We'll start off around 2 a.m. It really wants to blossom snow more back in northern areas of southern areas of Indiana, southern areas of Ohio, and the northern half of Kentucky. Snow is just further north on this. Any kind of rain begins to switch to some heavy wet snow. There's just not as much precipitation, at least initially, and down in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. So it's just not as aggressive as, say, the HRRR model in the southern mode initially with this. But it's snowing back in Kentucky. It's snowing for the southern half of West Virginia. See that darker blue, darker corridor here? That is heavy, wet snow. And watch what happens as we continue to take it to about midday. The same thing ends up unfolding. A little bit of backfilling of precipitation with some cold air to work with. So it's snowing back here in the North Carolina mountains, maybe even the foothills. I think we'll have a shot. Snowing back here in eastern Kentucky, southern half of West Virginia, same areas. Just repeating myself here. But rain switches to snow in Raleigh, if this is correct, around lunchtime tomorrow. Snowing like crazy in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, if this is correct. Snow's getting up into Richmond. Initially, this starts further north, but it doesn't end up ending as far north, if that makes sense. So it doesn't get to D.C., Baltimore, at least initially, and it really never does. And same thing, as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, low pressure trying to develop. You got a main corridor of heavy snow here and closer to the coast. I just want to watch as we kind of have dual maximized areas of energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But it's snowing like crazy in southeast Virginia, southern Maryland. Okay, and then we keep this going, and even that backside energy pivots all the way down to, southern and southeastern Virginia, and then the eastern half of North Carolina. And 8 p.m. tomorrow, it is still snowing in these areas. I'm telling you, there's a surprise factor with this. It really shouldn't be, because short-range models have been hawking the horn at this. I would call a surprise something that develops in real time, more so, or either just literally a last-second trend. And I wouldn't call this a last-second trend. The GFS continues to be aggressive. Here's a global model. This is Monday morning, snowing like crazy in southwest Virginia. This is going to be an area that gets there. The jackpot area could be over here. And that's kind of what happened with the last event Friday. And then blossoms, moderate snow across the northern half and central areas of North Carolina, southern Virginia. This is what I'm talking about here. You see this area right here. This is Monday evening, tomorrow evening. Moderate to even heavy snow in eastern North Carolina. Outer Banks, I think, is going to stay mainly rain. Snowing in southeast Virginia, but there's sort of some backside energy. Model guidance continues to show this. That's going to, I think, really boost snowfall. Boone, Banner, Elk area, could really get this. And then we continue, and then everything tapers off. What about the latest Euro, which has stayed conservative, but it started getting a little bit more aggressive last night. Let's see what it shows. And I haven't even looked at this yet. Shows the same areas, southern West Virginia, southwest VA, getting theirs. A little bit of snow, maybe in the far northeast tip of Tennessee. Snow back here in Kentucky. And it's just, it doesn't like the idea of it being cold enough deeper into North Carolina, eastern North Carolina, than the other models do. It's just stuck on just a warmer solution, but it has the precipitation pretty much in the same area. But kind of same idea, except it's a little bit further north, kind of back building of moisture as a low pressure is trying to develop off the East Coast, and then you kind of have this backside energy here that could elevate snow rates, and then it's done. So let's go over some of these short-range models, and then we'll go over what the National Weather Service is showing for these areas, okay? This is the NAM. It's aggressive. Wants to drop an inch of snow in Greensboro. The National Weather Service is not calling for that, and I guarantee you most of your local news networks are not going to be aggressive like this. And I don't blame them, because you people were heated and mad in northern North Carolina for the Friday event because we had the last second trends to the north. It's the weather, guys. People say, I've read the same comments like 5 or 6 times over the last 24 hours. Just tell us you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. If I knew what was going to happen, I'd be a millionaire. I would be known as just the best to do it out there. And to some of you folks, you think I am, and I really appreciate that, but I'm not. I analyze model data. I'll give you my take on everything, and I rely on what the National Weather Service says. That's the ultimate forecast for me, and that's why I take the time to pull up all those graphics, because to me, that's where I tip my cap to the most, is the professionals in the National Weather Service. This model guidance, we look at this as more of the aggressive scenario. For example, it wants to drop 4 to 5 inches of snow near Roanoke. It wants to drop 2 to 3 inches of snow in Greenville, North Carolina. You're not going to see that on National Weather Service forecasts. They're going to always keep it conservative and then shoot it up when they really lock in their confidence on what's going to happen. And some people might not agree with that, but hey, not everybody's going to be on the same page. But 1 to 2 inches of snow in the Hampton Roads area is what the NAM is showing. Northern counties in North Carolina gets a good 1 to 3 inches of snow, if this is correct. Same thing with the southern half of Virginia. And it gets really splotchy down here in the North Carolina, Tennessee mountains. Now, the HRRR model, it's pretty much the same. Okay? It wants to drop, though, 3 inches of snow on Johnson City. I know I got some loyal people in this area, in the Tri-Cities area. It wants to crush you guys, especially kind of north and east of, really northeast of Johnson City. So we'll see if that happens. It's not a forecast. Don't tell everybody, you know, at the local Chick-fil-A or Publix or something or Walmart that, you know, Mitch said it's going to snow 2 to 3 inches in Johnson City. It's just something we're watching. I think that there can be some surprises with this, but this is everybody else. Gets a inch of snow up to Charlottesville. And then if we look at some global models, here's the GFS being very aggressive also. Wants to drop 1 to 3, even 4 inches of snow down here into eastern North Carolina, and wants to drop a corridor of over 6 inches of snow in this area right here where Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia connect. And I think that could be a jackpot area if that backside vortex converts in the form of very heavy snow in this area. Okay, and then we got the the Euro. And this is going to be the conservative one. But even this shows, guys, I mean, it shows more of a Climo scenario. Basically, it's snowing in an area where it typically snows in these kind of situations this time of the year. Okay, and it just shows widespread 1 to as much as 3 inches of snow across areas of Virginia. Gets 2 to 3 inches of snow up into Charleston. But it does show that surprise area here. I wouldn't call this a surprise area. I would call anywhere out here a surprise area. But it does show that elevated area I want to watch for a little bit more snow. Okay. But moving forward, this is what the National Weather Service is showing. I'm going to update some of these graphics as we go. And I mean, they're just not calling for much. This stuff up here is for what's going on right now. Just trace amounts, 1/2 inch here, down here for the event that moves in later tonight. Now, this is Kentucky. Let's update this graphic. Sorry about the switching back and forth, but I just want to make sure y'all get you guys fresh information. This is just the National Weather Service forecast. Going for 1/2 inch snowfall totals at most with these areas. Okay, like stand by 1/2 inch at most. That could change. And then we look at, this is a tricky area. Okay, kind of a under the radar tricky area, I would say. I would watch up here near Mountain City, even Kingsport. What is it? Abingdon, Johnson City. Any communities right up here. Just watch this event. Okay, I'll leave it at that. National Weather Service from Greenville, Spartanburg. Let's update this graphic too. We don't have a new updated graphic. But listen, this is another area that they're being extremely conservative with. Asheville, Waynesville, Marion. I mean, just any of the small communities in this region right here. Okay, they're being very conservative, making this more of an elevation thing. And that's exactly the way it could be. And more likely will be. But there could be some surprises in here. Even Asheville down to Waynesville. Okay, Canton, stuff like that. Now, let's update this graphic, see if we got any new information. We don't. That stinks. Let's see if that's any different. No, not really. Okay, this is the National Weather Service forecast in Southwest Virginia, southern areas of West Virginia. And they're going for, in general, 1 to 2 inch snowfall amounts. Okay, but this is an area right here that I keep kind of moving my cursor around. This is an area we need to watch. And if you look at the high end with this, I mean, Boone, the high end is 10 inches of snow. And this has that, 1 out of 10 chance to happen for the higher snowfall. Roanoke, Blacksburg, I mean, that's 6 inches of snow on the high end. So it really, hits on the potential for, the overachiever part of this could be significant. But if we look at the forecast here in northern North Carolina out of Raleigh, they're being very conservative, just 1/2 inch totals here and there. Okay. And then we look at this area, another jackpot potential area. And we'll update this graphic and being conservative. Farmville about 1 inch, Lynchburg 1 inch, Danville 1/2 inch, Richmond, Petersburg about 1/2 inch, Cape Charles, southern areas of Maryland, 1/2 inch totals here and there. But this is an area that by the time we do a video tonight could be totally different. So we do have these winter weather advisories where the most confident in accumulating snow happening. And that is down to Boone, Newland, Jefferson, Sparta, Wytheville, Blacksburg, Radford, Roanoke, up to Lexington. I mean, these areas right here have winter weather advisories. All these green areas are freezing fog advisories. It's very foggy out there. It's below freezing. So be aware of that. And this area right here, these are special weather statements and it mentions the light snow moving in tonight that could, give some snowfall, some snow accumulations for these areas. So I think it mentions like 1 to 2 inches of snow. So moving past that, guys, what's next? As we move deeper into next week, the blue is just lower pressure. The yellows and orange, that's higher pressure. So that brings warmer than average temperatures normally, calmer pattern. And the blues you see is lower pressure brings the potential for some storminess. Now, whether that's just small events or big events, we figure that out as we go. But it always brings shots of cold air. So As we continue to move forward, it's the Euro ensemble. You're going to see how embedded in this blue area, we kind of have a greener shade of color. Okay, this is kind of bringing a reinforcing shot of cold air. We're going to probably have some clipper activity in that. But in general, this trough just kind of stays over the east. But you can see this area right into here kind of begins, come on, get in motion for me, kind of begins to drop down, kind of makes the trough dig down even more. So we take it all the way into Friday. And I think what happens here is a piece of the polar vortex gets dislodged. And I'll talk about this more deeper into the video. So very cold air wraps on the backside of this trough. I think the potential is there for some storminess into here. Now, I think it'll be in the form of some minor to moderate events and maybe some northwest flow type stuff. We just got to watch how much this trough digs. But we continue to have this version of what we call a positive PNA, ridging in the west. Okay, and there is a bridging, a kind of a connection. And we do get some blocking, some ridging into Alaska, what we call a negative EPO. So briefly, we have that positive PNA, negative EPO, which normally translates to a shot of cold air down into the central to eastern U.S. And that's exactly what happens. This also is kind of a factor of our warming up in the upper latitude region. When I'll talk about that too, we're getting another disruption of the polar vortex. And I literally think that gets dislodged all the way down to the lower 48 late next week. And I think that's why we have the potential for the Arctic outbreak late next week. And this continues, and you know, this trough kind of just swings through. You can see the really greenish corridors here of color. I think there could be some type of storm system into here, depending on how much this dig. But regardless, this big area of blue and green that you see over the eastern U.S., this is going to bring a deep shot of cold air. And you can see the cross-polar flow. You can see the cold air kind of digging all the way down from the higher latitude region. So does this bring any kind of significant winter weather? We don't know, and I'll speak on that here in a second. Let's speak on what we were very confident in, as that is a blast of cold air. So let's go over temperature anomalies, or temperatures compared to your average temperature where you're located this time of the year. So the blues and the greens you see, it's anywhere from a few degrees below average to 10, maybe as much as 15 degrees below average. And you see them, you know, these colors right here is above average temperatures. We're not focusing in on that. Unfortunately, if you're a winter weather fan, you're out west, you're just going to stay above average as far as temperatures. So what we're going to watch for is, I think Thursday-ish, give or take a day, you're going to have a first cold front. Now, this is going to bring chilly air, but this isn't nothing we can't handle. It's literally what follows after that. Some deep Arctic air kind of comes out of Canadian prairies here, drops down to the lower 48, and you see these Barney colors mixed with this white. I mean, that's anywhere from 20, 35 degrees below average. I mean, if your average high is already 40 degrees and you get 30 degrees below average temperatures, I mean, then your high temperature might be in the single digits, 10 degrees or something. But this drops down because of that piece of the polar vortex drops down. And, you know, we get the potential for an Arctic outbreak. It's very cold anomalies showing up over the central and eastern U.S. Excuse me, lost my words here, almost had a hiccup. But this has trended west too. So it's looking like more of the central U.S. as we're getting into next weekend, which is the time frame we're at. Gets very cold. And the cold air looks to stick around all the way into the week after. And when we get to that day 7 to 10 time frame, I mean, you might as well stop, because we continue to have crazy changes past day 7. I mean, just wild run-to-run swings. But this is the GFS ensemble. I mean, it hits on the same idea too. It brings the cold air in faster. So by Friday, I mean, we already have very, very cold Arctic air moving across the country. And then by the time we get into just fully into about 6 days from now, we got just extremely dangerous cold air dropping down. I mean, we're in mid-December at this point. So mid-December average low and high temperatures are certainly getting much lower as we're working our way to the heart of winter, which is in January for most. But when you get the Barney color showing up here, the purple, I mean, that is, like I said, 25, 35 degrees below average. So this is very cold air that just oozes right down to the lower 48, and it looks cold even to next week also. So this is backed up by the Climate Prediction Center, and we'll speak on how cold it could get when we get a little bit closer to this time frame. No point in getting lost in the sauce of the details with all that yet. But this is backed up by the Climate Prediction Center, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the 12th of December through the 16th. It's already hitting at the risk of very cold air, and confidence as high as is really how I should put it, and very, very cold air happening. The more you get into these darker blues, even into this purple color, I mean, that's where you got a high percentage of being below average for temperatures. We're not going to extend this to the 8 to 14 day range. Let's just keep things kind of closer out ahead of us. Now, what about moisture? Let's start off with the central U.S. first. Are we seeing any kind of significant winter weather out of this? We'll start this off Monday evening. You can see a clipper flying in across the upper Midwest Great Lakes region, not a big deal. And then a more aggressive one that could really get some winter storm warnings ongoing. This could be an all-out winter storm. That's some heavy snow. 984 clipper diving in as this trough begins to dip down into the central U.S. This could bring some heavy snowfall across the upper Midwest Great Lakes region. We'll talk more on that when we get closer to it. Now, as the jet dips, kind of the road network or the avenue of moisture begins to dip south with it. So then we get into Wednesday into Thursday. We get some light, moderate snow moving across the plains, and this is showing up as far south as like, I don't know, Missouri, Tennessee. You can see a touch of snow down here. And then we continue to move forward. And then we have another event. Some more snow diving south, light, moderate snow, even all the way down to Missouri into Friday. And then we have another event after that into around this time next week, some light snow. But altogether, you're not seeing a major snowstorm. And this is the Euro ensemble through now in the next week. And that's as far out as we need to go. You can tell winter is doing winter things for the northern sections of this area. Now, what about the eastern U.S.? Same thing. Start off Tuesday afternoon. We got an aggressive clipper diving down across the Great Lakes region, upper Midwest. It's going to bring some heavy snowfall, several inches of snow. It's likely with this. And then this is going to dive into the northeast areas of Ontario, Quebec, where it's going to deliver more snow on top of more snow. And this is going to set off the lake effect snows again, probably all week, late this week. And then the dip in the jet happens. And then we start to get a little bit of snow showing up as far south as Tennessee. As we're getting into this coming Thursday, and we have to watch that. We get into Thursday night, and then we have another area of energy that dives down as this trough is really getting stronger, not necessarily digging as much as the first one, but I mean, kind of this lobe just swings in. It's very intense, and we're going to get light, moderate snow swinging in again. And a low pressure tries to develop here, Saturday of next weekend, and we got another system right there. But all in all, in the Euro, it's not showing much. The GFS teased a significant winter storm, and last night's and I'll show you the GFS too for the eastern U.S. This is Wednesday. You got that clipper moving through the Great Lakes region to the northeast Wednesday into Thursday. Then here comes some more snow diving down to the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. So just cold enough for areas a little bit further south. Shows a little bit of snow in the Mid-Atlantic. A lot of cold air dives in. There's a low pressure trying to develop Saturday, throwing back some snow in areas that really haven't seen much along the I-95 corridor. And it tries to develop a strong low pressure as this heads on out and does deliver a winter storm for like Maine and even back into Boston. But there's nothing too crazy, right? So it's kind of, and you can see how behind it, you get some more energy that sort of dives down, and there's a lot of things we got to watch in this time frame. I really think as we start to get into late this week, into the weekend, into early the week after, some wild things can show up on model runs. And, we look at the Euro ensemble with this, and this little area right here is for the system that's going to move in tomorrow. But you can tell it's just mainly for areas that normally had the better shots to get snow this time of the year. So I'm not seeing anything significant. That could change. Now, what's causing this pattern as we get into late next week, or late this week, you can say. I keep wanting to say that, but I always remember Sunday is the start of the week, and not everybody agrees with that. My wife doesn't agree with that, but technically it is. But anyways, just think of these reds that you see on your screen, the oranges. It's just warmer temperatures. I mean, way up in the atmosphere. I mean, miles and miles and miles, okay? And then you see kind of the greens and the bluish colors. These are colder temperatures way up in the atmosphere, okay? So we're going to start this off midweek, and what you're going to see here is you see this big area right here that shows up. This is on top of the globe for the most part, a little bit on the side. So this is a big kind of warming event over the Arctic region. And what this does is, in response, is that this dislodges, you see this area that shows up, and this is the lower 48, this is North America. This big warming right here over the polar region dislodges really cold air and drops it down to Canada into the lower 48. And I think that that's what brings that big shot of cold air that we are seeing, that we just went over as we're getting into this coming weekend, next weekend. So this disruption of the polar vortex, warming, whatever you want to call it, dislodges literally a piece of the polar vortex and very cold Arctic air down to the south on our side of the globe. And then this has the potential for switching onto the other side of the globe as we move forward, like over into Europe, stuff like that. Okay, and we can have a moderation period after that. One thing we keep going over also is the MJO, and I'll make this a little bit bigger for y'all. We are in phase 8 now, which is right here, and that is a cold phase for winter weather chance. We've been talking about this like crazy. We moved out of phase 7. We were back in phase 4, 5, and 6, which are the warmer phases in like the last half of November. Really all of November. Then we worked our way into phase 7, and now we are in phase 8, which phase 8, 1, and 2 are favorable for winter weather and cold chances. Okay, so what is it, the 7th? So we're right into here. So it looks like we're starting to kind of inch into that circle of death region, but all indications point that we move out of it. The circle of death is this circle right here. We're not going to dive deeper into that. Every time I do, it just gets crazy. But we'll just call that an area where the phase you're in might not reflect to the actual weather pattern what it really is. So, for example, if we're in phase 8 and we get to this circle of death, it might not be a true phase 8. You're kind of just in a void area where we don't have a whole lot of data for this area, and basically nothing really truly points to one thing or the other. We'll leave it at that. But it just looks like we're going to stay in phase 8 for a long period of time. So we got that working with us too, and I think that's honestly why we're getting big shots of cold air, and it just continues to stay cold, and ultimately why model guidance continues to adjust cold, because it's like, okay, we're in that phase 8. We are supposed to be cold. It's not how it works, but you get what I'm saying. So we continue to have a good look with this. And I've kind of stopped talking about this as much because, we're in it now. We just got to see what happens. As far as today's weather, though, we won't talk about the southeast because we've already talked about that, but we're going to have some festive flurries flying around across the northeast today. Weak remnants of a clipper that delivered a swath of accumulating snow out to the west and the Midwest. Let me know how much snow you got in Chicago and stuff overnight. But light moderate snow will be flying around across New England today, just padding the snow stats, and this will move and try to maybe re-strengthen once it gets off the down east coastline of Maine. And then you can see the system moving in overnight that we've already talked about at the beginning of the video. But additional accumulating snow, a few to several inches is possible across New England. And then the south central U.S., a little bit of rain's possible, even some thunderstorms in areas of Louisiana, southern Mississippi today. You can see, the reds and the yellows and the oranges down there. So be aware of that. Get this in motion if it'll let me. And I won't rule out a little bit of snow in the Butte, Missouri, southern Illinois, late tonight. So north central U.S., what's left over of this clipper will move out, and we'll get some lake effect snow streamers off the eastern end of Lake Superior into the eastern sections of the UP. Here comes another weak clipper delivering some light snowfall accumulations overnight across the upper Midwest. Just a very wintry pattern in this area, and it's going to continue. Western U.S., what you're looking at, another system moving across the Pacific Northwest into the northern Rockies, deliver more snow in the higher elevations, and then another one moves in tomorrow morning. So temperatures very cold across the northern sections of the country, very cold across the northeast, and just it's pretty chilly across areas of the south also. Only area that's staying warm is once you get south of sort of Jacksonville, it gets warm. And then the western U.S. is what we're looking at here. So we'll continue to try to figure this all out. We'll have another video sometime this afternoon to this evening. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.